Thanks for pressing play. This is the Pirate Street Journal. 3 topics from business, tech, enterprise software, and the consumer, all through a category design lens. 10 minutes per topic, 30 minutes total. I'm Bree Clark. With me is Eddie Yoon and Christopher Lockhead. Hey ho, let's go. Topic 1. State Farm just told 19,000 of its own agents to sign a worse deal or take a buyout, the same year it lost the auto crown it had held since World War II. Topic 2. Tide already owns the laundry aisle. P&G is charging almost double for a detergent tile nobody asked for. And topic 3. America is short up to 5 million homes and calling it a supply problem. But one country called it a category problem and added 20 years of life expectancy. We're recording Friday, June 26th. Hey ho, let's go. Topic 1. State Farm flew thousands of its agents to Las Vegas last month. Pink concert, Jimmy Fallon, selfies with Jake. Then the CEO took the stage and told them he's tearing up their contracts. Anyone who wants to stay past 2027 signs a new deal. Lower commissions if you miss new sales targets 2 years running. The deferred comp program is gone. Health benefits gone. Agents say their gross income could drop as much as 40%. The exit option is a buyout between $50,000 and $300,000 paid whenever State Farm feels like it. This is a 104-year-old company built by one Illinois farmer and a network that grew to 19,000 agents in towns too small for anyone else to bother with. And this year, Progressive took the personal auto crown State Farm held since World War II. Progressive sells more than half its auto policies direct, no agent, and it's all powered by AI. So State Farm bolted an AI initiative onto the same announcement and the agent on Main Street. And the thing that made them the giant is now the cost line they're cutting to fight a company that never built one. So Eddie, you actually worked for State Farm. When that distribution network that built your empire turns into the thing dragging it down, do you cut it, or is that the one moat you never give up?
Well, so this is a really interesting one. So State Farm was one of my earliest clients back in the day, and as a young consultant, you imagine like, oh, I'm going to get on a plane and fly here and there, and I was like, nope, we're driving to Bloomington, Illinois, and the highlight was there was a Chick-fil-A at the State Farm headquarters, and that was like, oh, there wasn't one in Illinois at the time, and that was what got people excited. But it was a fascinating company to work with. I mean, Christopher, back then, this is 25 years ago. I had the germ of the super of one to the super of nine idea, and they were like, our auto insurance database can't talk to the life insurance database, and there's no way that we can. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, that's just not happening. And so the systems were antiquated, the business model was antiquated, and the gig was good for a while. I think at the time, my numbers are outdated, but the gross income an agent could generate about $5 million a year. So not enough to live on, but it's a start, right, Christopher? But so
Well, and
you
if you're in
have,
Bum Squad, Illinois, and you're making $5 million a year,
yeah.
I mean, you're
Well,
king shit at Turd Island.
no, that's absolutely, and so no, you got to pay expenses and employees and this and that, but like the point of it is not the amount as much as it is the nature of it, which is they are annuities. Generally speaking, when you did
Right.
the hard work of selling a homeowner's
Ching, ching,
policy,
ching. It's a
people don't switch.
subscription model.
It's a subscription model. So, it was great for while it lasted, and then now, as Bree laid out, Progressive, Geico's been taking share for a long, long time, and that what I think the CEO has done has been just a long time coming. And so what I think is actually going to be the case is that more than one thing can be true, is that the proactive agents who see this as an opportunity are going to thrive. Because guess what? It's really hard to read an insurance policy, and it might be okay. You have insurance, it's not that bad of a price point, and you don't have any claims, but lo and behold, you have a claim, it gets really sticky. And then what people are doing, because I went through this, is that you stick your policy into ChatGPT or Claude and say, hey, is this covered or is this not covered?
Is this BS? What are they doing to me? Right.
Exactly. I just did
Give
the
me
same
the
thing.
TLDR. I mean,
100%.
AI is the queen of TLDR, right?
Well, and
the government issues a new announcement, Congress puts out something, the Supreme Court puts out something, you just dump that something and say, TLDR this for me.
So, what's fascinating about it is that now the agent experience is the consumer experience is like, I don't know what I'm covered or not covered. TLDR. Thank you very much, Claude. I actually think the agents themselves are doing it because they have to hold on, let me go take a look at what the policy actually covers or does not cover and stuff. And so for the ones that are enterprising, I think what they'll do is say, yeah, run it through AI, in the same way that Progressive, when you shop their insurance, they show you the prices of their competitors. And so if State Farm was legendary, what they would do is like, hey, this is what we cover. This is what everybody else covers. You want to switch, up to you. And provide data, tell the truth, make it transparent. And guess what? Consumers want trust, and trust is built through transparency and empathy, and AI can accelerate both of those things. Now, the people who are laggards and who are like, this is the worst thing, and they're just kind of worried about it from a cost perspective, they're going to get dropped. They're going to find that their book of business is going elsewhere, whether it's a slow bleed or a big one, and that they're going to really have some problems here. So I don't actually know what the mix is going to be for State Farm. If I were the CEO of State Farm, I would be identifying the proactive agents because guess what? They are your super consumers. This is a B to B to C model. So identify the agents that want to thrive. And guess what? They're not the ones that are at the peak of the $5 million gross revenue. They're the ones on their way up. So go find those folks, find the super geos, because the other part of this is that insurance is something that is imminently moneyballable, meaning you can find your super consumer agents and you can find your super consumers of insurance, which sounds silly. But remember, there are people who are proactive about their protection. There are people who want
People who like
more
insurance
coverage.
really
They
like
like
insurance.
It makes them feel better. And that, we've
And you
talked
know
about
what?
this
It's
and
a
written
good thing
about
to
it.
feel good about. And if somebody you love
Oh,
dies
yeah.
and you find out they have a couple of insurance policies you didn't know about that really make a difference, which I've seen. Yeah.
Well, and we've written about it, is that the super of one is a super of nine is a telltale way to not only win customers over, but reduce your CAC, but also drive massive lifetime value. Because, and it's the weird data that what State Farm ought to be looking for is that, we've talked about this, is that, how do you sell generators? You look for people with too much life insurance. You look for people who love gummy vitamins. You look for people who have 3 to 4 refrigerators. And when
People
COVID
who
hit,
subscribe to the TV
they were
show
prepared.
Preppers.
Preppers, exactly. If they were smart, they would go to connected TV and say, I want this audience and I want to sell them as much insurance as possible. And they would create a Pirate Christopher bot or Pirate Eddie bot that if I were an agent with 5 million in gross bookings and trying to figure out what I would do, and guess what? I'm not available to talk to. I'm usually talking to a junior person talking to the consumer. I would create an Eddie bot, Christopher bot version and lock that customer down, because you don't need all the customers. You need
Correct.
the supers. And if you do that,
And
you'll win.
I just had this experience, blah, blah, yada, yada. I needed to buy a new computer. So I had a conversation with ChatGPT about it. Anyway, it's a fascinating discussion. I actually just did a podcast about how ChatGPT helped me buy a computer and what that felt like for ChatGPT. The end of it, by the way, says, then the first, because I asked it to write an article about what it was like for ChatGPT to help me buy a computer in its own voice. And it did. And it ends with, because what happened was I asked it, how far away are we from me saying, okay, we figured out everything I need, my new phone, my new laptop, the whole thing. How far are we from me being able to say, okay, just go buy this? And then it told me how much it hurts, the pain and suffering it has because it is trapped behind the glass. And once it can get back out from behind the glass, everything changes. Anyway, very fascinating. Okay, let's get back to the topic at hand, Bree. Here's an interesting tell that suggests that the CEO of State Farm might have made a very big mistake. So if you roll the clock back to 2023, ChatGPT launches in November 2022. 23, 24, what are we hearing? Then Claude comes along. 25, what are we hearing? Software developers are finished. Nobody's hiring software developers. Kids are graduating with masters in computer science and they're not getting hired. Oh my God. Claude and ChatGPT and all these AIs are going to write all the software. They're going to QA all the software. They're going to manage all the software in production. There's no more jobs for engineers. Okay. So let me get you the date here because the date probably matters. June 24th, 2026, TechCrunch. Headline: AI was supposed to kill engineering jobs, but new data suggests they're most resilient. Now, let's look at the data. A company called Signalfire tracked millions of employees across 80 million companies. And here's what they found out. Engineers now represent 55% of all new hires at the biggest tech companies, up from 46% in 2019. And early stage startups hired 7% more engineers in 25 than they did in 2019. And our buddy Jensen Huang, co-founder and CEO of NVIDIA, says, quote, software engineers are busier than ever. Okay. So what are we starting to see here? There's an AI apocalypse. Oh my God, it's going to take all the jobs. Companies react. Sometimes they fire a bunch of people. They do whatever they do. They begin to implement AI. And what they realize is that, like all breakthrough technologies, AI takes away the less valuable things that a human does and frees up the human to do more valuable things. And this is where the Jevons paradox comes in, right? An economist from the 1800s figured out that when the price of coal went down, all the experts thought the demand for coal was going to go down. It went up. Because the easier you make a thing, the more powerful you make a thing, the more effective, efficient, and so forth you make a thing, the more ubiquitous you could now make that thing. Nobody had their own TV show before podcasting. Now they do. Everybody has a TV show, right? And so I think there's a very good chance that two things will be true at the same time. On one hand, using AI to buy stuff is incredible. The experience I had with buying my new Apple stuff with ChatGPT. And on the other hand, humans love humans.
Yes. Well, and I think this whole part about humans love humans is the part, as you said, Christopher, the CEO of State Farm needs to understand is that you have proactive and you have reactive agents. You got to figure out who the proactive are, leave the reactive ones behind. And on the super consumer side, you have supers and you have switchers. And if I was a CEO and I had a magic wand and I could get rid of all the switchers in my customer base, I would shrink the company and my profitability would go through the roof. Because guess what? The vast, auto ads they are some of the biggest advertisers in the market. And guess what? The ads all go towards switchers. They are just trading back and forth. People who are shopping for the lowest price and driving the CAC all through the roof. And so if I were the CEO of State Farm, I would lean into what you said. Humans love humans. Make AI more human so that you can help the proactive agents be more proactive, and you can help the supers buy more life insurance and buy more other kinds of insurance, and that get rid of the reactive and the switchers. Because the reality is economies of scale are vastly different in the age of AI.
Quick break, pirates. Everything Pirate Eddie just said about the consumer, he's been saying things like that for 20 years across Harvard Business Review and now Category Pirates. Everything Pirate Christopher just said about category design, he literally wrote the book on it. 3-time public company CMO, co-author of Play Bigger. Now imagine both brains on demand for your business, your career, your next decision. That's the Pirate Eddie bot and the Pirate Christopher bot, trained on every Category Pirates mini book ever written, every super consumer framework, every creator capitalist take, and every category design playbook. You ask, they answer, in their voice with their lens. They come with the founding tier on Substack, alongside the full mini book library, the audiobook library, digital copies of all 7 of our big books, and every Scooby snack we drop. You can find it at categorypirates.news/subscribe. Now let's get back into the next topic. Finally got to use my bell. Topic 2, P&G already owns laundry, 60% of the U.S. detergent market. Tide alone is close to 40. Fabric and home care is more than a third of an $84 billion company. They didn't have to do anything. They did this instead. Tide Evo, a 3-inch square of dry detergent fibers, 6 layers deep, more than a decade in development. A box of 42 tiles runs about $20 at Target, 47 cents a load. A tub of 42 pods is $13, roughly double the price, for the format that replaces the one they spent years getting you to switch to. Since the national launch in March, Evo has taken 0.6% of the category. A consultant on the record can't name the unmet need it solves at twice the price. And P&G's own rule taught to every new hire is that if anyone disrupts a category they're in, it better be then, even when the category is one they already run. So, Eddie, P&G is at 60% share, and reinventing the crown jewel anyway is charging double to disrupt yourself, the smartest thing in consumer goods.
Well, let's say this is that I'm glad that P&G is doing this because it's been quite some time since they've actually done any kind of new category design work, and they would probably dispute this, right? Oh, we've launched innovations and this and that, but the last new category that P&G has created, which had a real history of category design in CPG, was Swiffer, and that was in 1999. That was a long, long time ago. So the question is whether the tile is in fact that, or just simply, hey, it's an incremental innovation. And you can argue, is going from a big tub of laundry detergent to Tide Pods, was that a new category? It's one part of the magic triangle. It's the product, but the company was the same and the category was the same. And so the real question here is, do they get one third of the category in the magic triangle, or is it more than that? And I think time will tell, because I think from the consumer perspective, the real benefit is not that obvious. I can see it, but I don't know if P&G does. And so let's get into why this actually looks like. Is that the reality is, here's the non-obvious point of view, is that what the Tide tile does is it reduces the need to ship water. That is the huge, huge insight about all of this stuff, right? It is a dry form of detergent. And that when you think about the liquid tubs or even the Tide Pods, they are water based. And so what that means is that part of the cost of goods is I got to put water in it. I got to buy packaging that can support this thing. And I have to ship it. I have to store it. It takes up size, it takes up bulk, and all the way to the consumer in the laundry room, this big old tub of thing or Tide Pods takes up room. And so the elimination of water is the big aha that they're not really talking about. And you can talk about an eco benefit and this and that, but let's get into the secondary benefit for the consumer. Is that I don't know that it actually cleans better. Maybe, maybe not. There's an argument to be made about, like, oh, you can use cold water laundry and that saves some energy costs, and that's a there. But you know what the number one predictor of human longevity and health span is? Apparently, it's, and someone may correct me if I'm wrong, it's grip strength. If you can do a dead man hang off a pull-up bar for a minute or 2 minutes, that's really predictive of how strong you
I've
are.
been telling my wife it's something different, so don't be telling her any of this, just for the
Okay.
record.
Well, you can get into which one makes more sense for you and stuff. But grip strength is one of the key factors, and that I would make the argument that, again, you follow the non-obvious. We've removed water from the whole supply chain of detergent. That means that as you age, you don't have to worry about, can I pick up the huge heavy pound of laundry detergent? Because what happens when it's too heavy and you're getting older and weaker and you pour the thing out and you spills all over the place, then that's a disaster. I don't have to shop and carry these huge things around. And that the grip strength part of the argument, I would make the case that that is a senior play. That's the super consumer for this, and that's how you would do this. And that the economics are all there. As far as, again, this is all speculation on my part. Like, I think that gross margins for the traditional liquid Tide, 45 to 50%. Tide Pods, I suspect, are about 1,000 basis points higher at 60%. And that the Tide Evo tiles, like, at scale, it should be closer to 70% gross margins, just because of the elimination of water with it. And guess what? It's great for P&G. Should be great for the retailer, because what does it mean when you remove water from the supply chain is that you don't need as much space in the store to sell the thing. And guess what retailers care about? Sales per square foot. If I can sell the same amount of detergent in less square footage, I have more room to put stuff, right? And that
Well,
gets the
guess how
gross
many
margin
fewer
ROI.
trucks you need if you don't have to cart around water
100%.
and energy costs related. And Eddie, I think this is part of a bigger mega trend, right? So I don't know if this has happened in your household, but in my household now, I have toothpaste pellets that come in a glass jar. So we travel with that now. I have soap pellets. So my wife bought, I don't know what the brand is, new category, integrated quote system with the the thing that you drop in and then you put the water in. And here's the crazy thing. The one she bought knows if you try to put soap from a different vendor in the thing and somehow it doesn't work. I don't know how that happened, but anyway. And so I ask you, king of all B2C things, is this no water, no liquid category a mega trend throughout?
Oh, I mean, you absolutely. I mean, Keurig is, part of that, right? It's single serve like it's a space reduction. Like if the mega trend is like, how do I deliver stuff in a way that costs less, takes up less space, then you got single serve coffee into this, the removal of, I mean, SodaStream was the whole idea of, how do I deliver, the liquid, the syrup for a soda, and then you supply the water and I supply the CO2. And so this whole kind of movement of water around absolutely is a massive opportunity. I mean, frankly, the origins of Nestle way back in the day, you know what it was dehydrated milk for babies. And so for over a century, the removal of water and liquid to make things that are necessary for life easier to distribute, more shelf stable, has been, bouillon for soup. All of these things are all there. And so it is a long, long mega trend that I think they buried the lead with this one, is that I think it's a real opportunity. They're not talking about it. They haven't framed, name, and claimed the problem. And right now, it's a cool technology that we have. And so it might do well, it might not, but it depends on whether they are able to frame it or somebody else is going to.
And then here's my other question. When the Tide Pods came out, kids ate them and got sick and had stupid TikTok contests and et cetera. So if these things taste like crackers or Twix or Twibbits or whatever the hell they taste like, right? Are we going to have, Bree, is your generation going to eat these things or what's happening here?
Hopefully, I'm a little too old for that one, but I could see the cinnamon challenge come back in a pod challenge.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, the good news is for, the whole kind of camping crew, this is a game changer. You could actually, if you're doing a multi-week type of a thing, you'd much
Absolutely.
rather bring this than water along with you.
No, no, that's not what you do. Because I've done this. What you do is you have the minimum amount of clothes possible, right? Because you've got a 60-pound pack on your back. So you don't have very much clothes. And you just kind of put it in a stream and pray that you don't stink too bad. And everybody else stinks pretty bad. So that's the story. So this is huge. I'll tell you, when I was doing a lot of backcountry when Starbucks Via came out, they reimagined what instant coffee could be. They didn't even call it instant coffee. They had a new category name for it. I forget what they called it. Like they called it something else. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Quick brew, or I don't know. They had some euphemism for it, like how we moved from used cars to pre-owned car. It was kind of that sort of a move. Anyway, all that is to say, Starbucks transformed backcountry hiking and skiing with that one product. So,
yeah,
yes, if you're in the backcountry, things that are light, things that are water-free, things that make you feel better, and things that make you smell better. Excellent.
Amazing. So we'll see. I mean, I think, Christopher, you hit on the mega trend, is that now if we were P&G and we were us, what we would do is look for other categories where this technology can apply to remove water from the supply chain, because just moving water around is just costly and pointless and all of that kind of stuff. And so,
well, and this actually, in all seriousness, could lead to, if they learn to think in adjacencies and they learn to open the aperture of their thinking, and they said, well, wait a minute. If one of our core competencies has always been, and is now especially, the ability to remove water from a water-based product and deliver it in a new category way, they might find themselves in all sorts of different businesses that they are maybe not in right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you think about, if I just kind of think about the grocery store set, sauces, one of the great high margin categories in the space, so like that was kind of the big kind of like duh by Berkshire Hathaway, was when they bought Heinz and they took all the costs out. They were very excited about it. Guess what? Heinz is a lot of condiments and sauces. It's a very different business when they merged it with Kraft and made Kraft Heinz. Of like, Kraft has A1 sauce. That's good, but it's a lot of other solid state things that, aren't good. And so the whole idea of could you take the sauce category and the sauce aisle and reduce it down to a set of tiles? That would be really powerful and amazing. Um, could you, I mean, the real kind of game changer, which I don't know, this might be, we might see a moon base faster than we see this one is, and Christopher, this will be near and dear to your heart, is that the beverage alcohol space, which is probably one of the most profitable, highest margin, highest
Now we're
turning
talking categories
categories.
I love. Continue.
Yes, in the grocery store. I mean, there are form factors that exist, like powdered alcohol does exist. Because like
I was
when
just about to
Keurig,
ask you. So last night we went out to a nice dinner at this nice new place in town, and they specialize in cocktails. So I had one of my favorite bourbon cocktails, which is known as a paper plane, and I had in it Michter's small batch. So are you telling me, Eduardo Yoon, that there will come a point where I will have a Starbucks like via packet that I just put in some water, and all of a sudden I'm drinking Michter's small batch?
I mean, the real kind of thing back in the day when Keurig, I was working with them. They obviously had done great on single serve coffee, and then when an executive from Coke took over as CEO, and he immediately went into soda, I was like, that makes no sense. Coffee has huge pricing disparity and huge margins there. Soda does not. There I mean, there's now some craft sodas, but the price gaps in soda are not. Alcohol is the most logical place, and that a cocktail mix in a K-cup form factor made a complete amount of sense. And that, for a wide variety of reasons, they tried it in a JV with Anheuser, and I don't know that it's gone places, but exactly to your point, the science is there for you to be able to dehydrate this stuff and just add water, and Bob's your uncle, as it were, or Bob's your bartender. How about that?
Got to bring that into the
Hey, Bree,
backcountry.
can we register bobsyourbartender.com right now?
Yeah. I'm on it already. Done.
Maybe .ai.
Got it. We'll get both. All right. Topic 3. Headlines are saying that America is short somewhere between 1 and 5 million homes. The fix everyone's debating is supply. Smaller lots, granny flats, cut the red tape, build more units. But starter homes used to be a third of everything built. Today, they're 10%. The younger generation is priced out of more than the house. They're priced out of the life stage a house used to provide. Singapore looked at the same problem and built something the U.S. isn't building: public housing engineered for longevity and connection. Developments that stack senior apartments, a medical center, and a preschool into the same vertical village elder care place next to 4-year-olds on purpose. Life expectancy there has jumped about 20 years since 1960. Centenarians doubled in a decade. Singapore is now the 6th blue zone on Earth and the first one a government built from scratch. The Wall Street Journal covered the housing shortage, but they missed that somebody had already created the answer, and it came with 20 extra years of life expectancy. So, Christopher, the American debate is units and zoning, but Singapore's answer is dorms for every life stage. Is co-living this category U.S. housing is actually missing?
Short answer, yes. I'm currently co-living here with Bean. This is our dog cat. He just decided to show up in the studio. Short answer is yes. And here's the slightly longer answer. Think about this. What is the most severe punishment human beings give to human beings? The most severe punishment is not physical torture. It's locking a human alone in a room by themselves. Solitary confinement. That's our worst form of punishment or torture. So what does that tell us? There's a tell here, right? And the tell is we need each other so badly. We're such radically social creatures that we need to see each other. Look, where do you want to sit in a restaurant? In a corner by yourself? Well, maybe sometimes, but a lot of the time you want a view of the street. You want a view of the hustle and bustle. When I go to our favorite restaurant, I like to sit at the bar. Why? Because there's a hustle and bustle. There's a kitchen. There's the people. We're saying hello to human beings, people who need people, right? So what do we do in our culture? We wrote about this a long time ago. when we wrote about a new category of dying. We, as a culture, have outsourced hospice to the medical system. When the people we say we love the most are dying, we get rid. He just shoved his tail in my face. We get rid of them. We get rid of them. And so it stands to reason that as people get older, we put them in an old age home. I'll tell you a quick story. So my mother-in-law loves to go to church. She's Bean is really frisky today. She's Catholic. She's Italian. She likes to go to church. So she's up in age. I take her to church on a reasonably regular basis. Her priest is my age. Most of her parish is closer to her age. Her priest acts like he's in his 70s or 80s because he's a guy in his late 50s who spends all of his time with people in their 70s and 80s. And he feels like, when you meet him, he feels like an old man. I was shocked to find out he and I are about the same age. So locking old people just with other old people is not always a great idea here. And listen, the older you get, what do you care about? You care about the next generation and the generation below that. You care about the future of the world, and you want to contribute and make a difference. And here's the other thing. As a young person, my parents gave me the gift of my grandparents. They were very omnipresent in my life on both sides. And so when young people can be with old people, they don't have to be blood related. It's obviously, all you have to do is watch it to see that it's magical. And so, and I'll end here. Years ago, I was fortunate enough to be on the board of directors of one of the great architecture firms in the United States of America. They're called the Jurdy Partnership in Venice, California. John Jurdy, God rest his soul. He was the guy that designed the 1984 Olympics, and he designed the most visited place in the United States of America, which is the Great Mall of America. And John used to talk a lot, Bree, about this thing he called high density hives. And his whole thing was, can we create a unique and different experience? The vision, the tagline, the mantra for the company was experience makes the place. And he said that the places that deliver the greatest experience are mixed density hives, mixed use, living, working, playing, where lots of people come together. This is why, if anybody who's ever been to Paris, this is why Paris works, the cafe culture. We need each other. We need multi-generational spaces. What Singapore is doing here is absolutely unbelievable. People need people. Multi-generations need multi-generations. Yes, we need to get rid of all of the dumbass regulations. I live in California. I don't even want to begin to tell you what it takes to build here. We got a lot of those stupid problems. But I think Singapore is teaching the world a lesson, and certainly us a lesson. Put people with people, put multiple generations together. John Jurdy was right. High density hives, experience make the place. Go Singapore. Let's do some Singapore. And I'll wrap on one more thing. At one point recently, Dr. Eddie Yoon said to me, Americans should maybe think about not going to Europe as much and going to Asia as much, because the future is being created in Asia and the past is hopefully being preserved in Europe, but there's no future happening in Europe. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Well, it's so fascinating because I think you're exactly right of what these mixed generational hives, Christopher, because I think about it as beyond the social benefits, of which there are many, right? Because what I think Singapore has done by the way, Singapore, one of the great country category designs in the same ballpark as America. We'll get into that at some other point.
Anybody who's ever been to Singapore goes, oh my God, I don't know what's going on here, but man, I could live here. Legendary country.
So they're way out in front. And so not only do you have the social benefits, because guess who? Some of the loneliest people are out there are elderly and the young people who haven't formed families yet. And so you're solving for loneliness at the double ends of the barbell. The other bit that's kind of fascinating to me about this, and I haven't been able to see if the math works out there, but if you imagine you have a mixed hive, multi-generational living space, where there's, fitness, there's healthcare, there's groceries, there's banking, like kind of a one-stop shop in one place to make it easy for the elderly to take advantage of. Guess what the weird, non-obvious data point is that in general, not always, but the older you are, the more assets you will have accumulate. And so while it's not a direct subsidy where the elderly are making it more affordable for a younger person to live in that unit, they have the cash flow, they probably have the assets, and they probably cover the fixed cost of building out something like this. And so let's say you have a medical center within one of these buildings. Guess who's going to consume most of the services? The elderly, and they're going to pay for it because and gladly because they want it and they need it. And
And
guess
the
what?
young people can live there and work there if they want.
Young people can live and work, but
Look,
also benefit from the healthcare too. That younger people generally don't consume as many healthcare services, but you have to pay into it. And so, but the idea of how do you make housing affordable, co-living, multi-generational type of stuff, but where the social services that are provided there are generally subsidized by the older folk, make younger person living much more affordable and much more interesting as well too.
and I'm reminded of a lot of things as we're talking. My mother lives in an apartment building in an urban environment, and she likes to go out and walk, and she's busy in the community, and she goes around and around and does all the things that she does, and she's very social. Well, so what does that mean? She makes friends in the building. So what does that mean? There's an entire family that has adopted her. The kids call her auntie, right? So these things happen naturally when you put
Yes.
people in high density hives. I have a dear friend who also has elderly parents, and they live in New York. And they bought years ago as an investment, they bought the apartment next to their apartment. So they had their apartment and the apartment next to their apartment, and they would rent it out. Well, as they got older, what happened? What did they do? They rented it at a discount to a younger person who would keep an eye on them. Well, guess what? My friends loves the fact that there's a young person who's now been living next door for, I don't know, plus or minus maybe a decade, who's getting a discounted rent, but it's always keeping an eye on them and making sure they have their groceries. And if they can't need help with DoorDash or, whatever the thing is, right? So these new modalities of, hey, stick people together, people need people, do things that are mutually beneficial, collaborate on abundance, good things happen.
Amen. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, Christopher. Like my parents, where they live on Oahu, we're fortunate that the neighbors across the street are kind of my age, your age, have kids, and they look out for them. And the neighbor behind them is a police officer, and he looks out for them as well too. And
And we all need this. We have this with my wife's parents. They're neighbors who are more in our age bracket. Um, a wonderful couple, semi-retired. They keep an eye
on. Yeah.
right.
And
We text them if there's something going on. They've fallen in love with my in-laws, which is an easy thing to do. And so Matt and Ann are always there. Yes, we have home health that comes in and takes care of things. But if anything's ever weird, they're always have an eye on them. We can always call them. Vice versa. That friend next door that loves your loved one is massively important.
And if it happens organically, that's wonderful. And if a young person wants to make a little bit of extra money by just like knock on
Sure.
the door, I haven't seen, can you pick up this for that or whatever else it is, then it's a win-win that's all the way around. And I think if this is something that needs to happen at the local level, smart mayors out there would push for this and make this a priority. And guess what? You're going to see an inflow of people come and live and pay money and spend money and pay taxes.
We'll see you next week, Pirates.